So here's a quick video on how to play Come As You Are by Nirvana. And one thing to note is that the song is tuned about a half step down on the guitar. In the very beginning, you're starting with the riff that is played throughout the song. And that is so you're going to hit the open string twice, and then you're going to start on the first fret and walk up to the second. So we have again, and then next point, you're going to want to hit the open A string, but keep your middle on the second fret of the E string. So we're going to be going back and forth on those. See how I did that? You can still hear both strings. I'm not getting this little... You want them to ring out together and run together. Hopefully my fingers aren't getting in the way of you seeing what I'm doing. I'm trying to move them just in the right angle. So we have this walk. Now notice I ended on hitting that E string again, but I'm going to hit it one more time to start the walk back down. So we're going. So if I do that one more time, we got the walk up, then the toggle between the two, ending on the E, and then I hit it one more time to walk down. Now the next part of this riff is you're going to put your middle finger down, this time on the A string, which is the fifth string coming up, or the second from the top, right underneath the E string on the second fret. You hit that second fret on the A string once, and then come back to the E string up top here to hit that open string twice. So again, from the top we have then after the toggle between the E and the A string earlier in the riff, then we walk down, hitting this one more time, and then walk down to the first, to the open, second fret on the A string, 2 hits on the E string, and then one more hit on that second fret of the A string, and you start it all over again. So if I walk through that again real slowly a couple of times, maybe you can play along with me. So you can feel free to come back to the beginning of that video to walk through that little riff there if you need some more time with it. We're going to now move to the second half of the verse. Each of the verses gets to this point where they're playing a couple of chords. One of the chords is an F sharp minor, but it's not a complete bar chord, which it usually would be, but he's not doing it that way. So my pointer finger is not going to be laying down as it would for a bar chord, which is kind of nice. It's easier. It's got different voicing. And then I have these two fingers. My ring finger is on the A string, 4th fret. My pinky is on the D string, 4th fret. I also will be leaning just a little bit this way with my pinky because I want to mute the 3rd string coming up, so that's the G string, but I still want to hear these top 3 and the bottom 2. So I have, so when you strum, you'll get, if you don't get that G string blocked, then it's going to sound like this. not what you want. It's kind of an interesting sound, but not going to fit for this song. So I let my pinky just slightly lean back, but that's the only one I want leaning back so I don't mute any other strings. And then you can just strum right through it like he does in the song. Now the next chord is a lot easier than this, in my opinion. It's going to be your 2 fingers. I like to use my middle and ring fingers, but they're both going on the 2nd frets of the 2 strings in the middle. That's the D and the G. So if you count the 1st string, 2nd string, and then 3rd coming down, and then the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd coming up, these 2 fingers are sitting right there on the 2nd frets, and you have an A sus. So in formal settings, they chord tabs and formal music books tell you that you shouldn't hit the E string when you're playing an A sus or any A chord, because the root note is the A string, but I like the way it sounds regardless, so I like to use it. So if I'm going from this F sharp minor that I just showed you to the A sus, it's going to sound like this. And then he eventually goes right back to that riff. Now, there's only one other section that happens in the song. It's what we can call the bridge, and he's going to be playing 2 different chords. Now, there is the B, which is very much like the shape of the F sharp minor that we were using. We're not barring with the F sharp minor, so we're not going to be barring with this B either. So there are similarities to what we're doing with the F sharp minor and with what we're doing with the B, but the difference with the B is that I'm not going to lean my pinky because I want to hear those 2 strings below, but I don't want to hear the E up here on top. So I'm just going to allow my pointer finger to make contact with the E on top, not on top of it, just next to it, making contact so that it's muted. And then I just make sure that everything else, fretting, are clear. I don't want my pinky to touch that 2nd string from the bottom, and I get that nice full sound of that B. And from there, I'm going to go to a D shape. Now, if you're not familiar with a D chord, you put your middle on the 2nd fret of the very bottom, the 1st string, then go up 3 strings. So on the 3rd string, you're going to place your pointer finger on the 2nd fret, and then your ring finger goes in between the 2 strings. So it's the 2nd string, 3rd fret. But in this song, we're playing a D sus, or you can call it a D sus 2. Some places they do that. But either way, it's the same chord. So what the difference between a D and a D sus is, take your middle finger out of the equation. You're going to still hear the bottom E. I at least like to do that. You could block it with your ring finger like we did with the F sharp minor with the pinky by leaning it just a little bit, not fretting it, just making contact so that you mute it. But I'm not doing that myself. Now the other thing is, you want to try to avoid to get the top E string. It just doesn't sound quite right. So you could do a couple of things. One is you could bring your thumb up just enough to make contact and mute it. But if your hand's not quite big enough and it ends up making you also mute this one here, then don't do that. What you could do is come at an angle when you're strumming. So it'll eliminate you hitting the E just a little bit better than just coming straight down. It's not the easiest thing to do, of course, but you work at it, you can get better at it, and then it doesn't stand out quite as bad. But we go from this B chord to the D. And I'll just call it a B and a D, even though they're not specifically a B or specifically a D. Like this is more like a B sus, and this is more like a D sus. And so just like what we did with the F sharp minor to the A sus, after you've played this a few times, then you come right back to that riff. So that is it in a nutshell. So hope you enjoyed that lesson, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video. See you soon.